Welcome, future certified phlebotomy technicians. If you're gearing up for your NHA exam, you've come to the right place. We're about to tackle one of the most important topics, quality assurance. Our goal, to break it down so you know exactly what to expect and can walk in there feeling confident. Let's do this.
So, here's our game plan. First, we'll cover the basics. Why quality is everything. Then, we'll dive into your role in the whole process. After that, it's all about the rules, how to avoid major mistakes, and even some tools for making things better. And finally, we'll pull it all together into a solid strategy for exam day. All right, let's jump right in.
Okay, first things first. Let's talk about the big picture. Quality assurance, or QA. What is it really? Well, the easiest way to think about it is as a giant safety net. It's this whole system that's designed to protect patients and make sure every single result that comes out of the lab is spot on and reliable. And here's the absolute key takeaway. QA is not just a good idea, it's mandatory. It's a system-wide process that pulls together standards, quality control checks, and this idea of always getting better, all to guarantee the accuracy of every single test. Now, this next point is huge, and it's all about you. This quote really puts the phlebotomist, that's you, right at the center of everything. Think about it. Most preventable errors happen in what's called the pre-analytical phase. That's your phase. It happens before the sample even sees a lab machine. That makes you the first and honestly the most important line of defense for patient safety. Okay, so that leads us perfectly into our next section. Let's really drill down into your specific role in what's called the total testing process. So the total testing process, or TTP, is basically the entire life cycle of a lab test. It starts with the doctor's order and doesn't end until the final result is reported. But here's the thing. Your part, that pre-analytical phase, that's where the magic happens. It's where you collect the specimen, and honestly, it's where the quality for the entire journey is set in stone. And these steps, these are the ones you own from start to finish. We're talking patient ID, choosing the right site, the collection itself, labeling right there at the bedside, all the way to transport. Getting this sequence down perfectly is absolutely fundamental. Why? Because this is how you prevent the vast majority of lab errors from ever happening. Okay, listen up, because this is a huge NHA exam alert. If there's one thing you need to burn into your brain, it's this. Failing to verify two patient identifiers. It is the most serious pre-analytical error. There's a reason they test you on this so heavily. Getting this right, matching that name and date of birth, for example, is what prevents some of the worst possible mistakes. All right, now let's talk about the rules of the road. I like to think of these standards and agencies as the guardrails that keep both you and your patients safe on this journey. Okay, this chart looks like a lot, but here's a really simple way to break it down. Think of CLSI as your how-to manual. It tells you the exact consensus-based steps for doing a venipuncture. Then you've got the big players like the Joint Commission or TJC and CLIA. They're like the referees or the inspectors. They're the ones who make sure your entire lab is playing by the rules and keeping patients safe. And, of course, OSHA is all about keeping you safe in the workplace. So the National Patient Safety Goals. What these do is take all those big, important ideas about safety and boil them down into clear, non-negotiable actions for you at the bedside. We're talking two patient identifiers, proper hand hygiene, and labeling tubes right there with the patient. These aren't just good ideas. They are hard and fast rules for every single patient, every single time. No exceptions. Okay, now we're entering the minefield. This next part is all about preventing those critical errors, the common traps that can completely compromise a specimen and, even worse, lead to patient harm. 1 minute. That's it. This number needs to be tattooed on your brain. A tourniquet can be on for a maximum of 1 minute. If you go over that, you're looking at things like hemoconcentration and hemolysis, fancy words for you've just ruined the sample. The results will be wrong, period. Next up, 9-to-1. This is the critical ratio of blood to additive specifically for those light blue top tubes used for coagulation tests. If you underfill that tube, you throw off the ratio and the test is completely invalid. That means a painful redraw for the patient and a serious delay in getting potentially life-saving results. And here is a rule you must never, ever break. A mislabeled tube or the wrong blood in a tube is a catastrophic error. You can't fix it, you don't try to correct it, you stop, you get a new tube, and you recollect. There are absolutely no shortcuts here. Any doubt at all means you start over. So, QA versus risk management. People mix these up all the time. Let's make it super clear. Quality assurance is about monitoring what happened.
It's like looking in your rearview mirror, tracking things like how many samples were hemolyzed last month. Risk management, on the other hand, is about preventing bad things from happening. It's looking forward through the windshield and using things like safety-engineered needles to control hazards before they cause harm.
You know, quality isn't a one-and-done thing. It's a continuous journey of improvement. So how do we actually get better? Well, there are specific tools for that. Let's take a look at your Quality Improvement Toolkit.
Think of this as your quality improvement toolbox. You wouldn't use a hammer to turn a screw, right? Same idea here. For a quick, small-scale test, like trying a new labeling method, you'd use PDCA. To make your workflow more efficient, like organizing your cart, you'd use Lean. And for those really tough, high-stakes problems, like figuring out why your citrate tubes are underfilled, you bring out the big guns, Six Sigma.
Now, for the exam, you'll likely need to know when to use which tool. Here's the key difference to remember. PDCA, Plan, Do, Check, Act, is for rapid, small tests. It's for when you're asking, hey, let's just try this for a day and see what happens. Six Sigma, on the other hand, is a much more intense, data-driven process. You use that when you have a persistent, serious problem and you need to find the absolute root cause. All right, we have covered a ton of ground. So now, let's pull it all together. This is your game plan for mastering the quality assurance questions on the NHA exam.
Here it is, your NHA exam hit list for quality. First, know the difference between who sets the rules, like CLSI, and who enforces them, like the Joint Commission. Second, master those bedside safety goals. Patient ID and labeling are huge. Third, have a basic understanding of risk assessment, like the SAFER matrix. And finally, know the different CLIA certificate levels and be able to pick the right improvement tool for the job. If you nail these 5 areas, you'll be in fantastic shape.
But if you walk away with only one thing today, let it be this. This is the ultimate takeaway. 2 patient identifiers, checked against the order, followed by immediate labeling at the bedside. That simple 2-step process, it prevents the vast majority of catastrophic errors. It is the absolute cornerstone of safe phlebotomy. And that brings me to the final thought I want to leave you with. After every single draw, ask yourself this question. Can you defend not just what you did, but why you did it? See, real competence, real professionalism, isn't just about following a checklist. It's about understanding the principles behind the checklist. When you understand the why, you've made the leap from just performing a task to being a true healthcare professional. Keep that with you, and you're going to do amazing. Best of luck on your exam.